You guys got it down. We'll give everybody one more minute to jump on, then we will get started today. We're going to be talking about 3 just quick tips to help you create an extraordinary life. Michigan in the house. Hello, Michigan. And then let me see if I can. Oh, I see how they're doing it. This is quite the challenge because I have 3 different screens going. I have the Facebook Live app going on one. I have the Periscope going on another. And then I have my computer too. So there's all these different things, and I'm trying to remember which place to look at so that I can make sure that I'm connecting. And then now I'm learning that the computer has a comment saying that updates in real time too. All sorts of things to learn. All right, let's jump in. Thank you everybody for being here, and welcome to another. We need to come up with a cool name for this, especially if we're doing a Facebook Live and a Periscope. I think that would be a great thing to do. So if anybody has a clever name to come up with, please leave it in the comments. You need an assistant. I need somebody standing here holding all these devices is what I need. And as always, thank you everybody for sharing this and inviting your friends, your family, your coworkers to be a part of this. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be trying to remember to switch back and forth between the cameras. So I'm looking at you on Facebook Live and I'm looking at you at Periscope. And Jesse Live. Keep it simple. Yeah, I like that. And we will do, what we're going to do is we're going to cover I have 3 quick tips I want to share with you all for living an extraordinary life. We'll open it up for Q&A at the end. You can ask questions. As always, you can ask questions about what we covered. You can ask questions about something else unrelated to that if you want. It's pretty open forum with you. And again, I appreciate so much all of you being here. I appreciate so much all of you liking, sharing, pushing the buttons on there, because it just helps allow other people to learn about what I do and my work I do. And I appreciate you all sharing that. If I don't answer your question as we go along, we'll come back and I'll just say, okay, it's question time. And the reason is just I don't want to interrupt the flow of it. I want to make sure I get you all the content, the tips beforehand. And if any of you have ever been in one of these talks with me before, I can get off on a tangent sometimes, especially when it's answering questions. And I want to make sure I get you all the tips that I promised. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jesse Brizendine. And I'm fortunate enough to live in too many hearts, my battery's dying. I'm fortunate to live in beautiful Santa Barbara. I'm a life coach, speaker, author, and it is my pleasure to be here with you tonight or today in the morning. I know some of you are logging in from Europe, some of you are logging in from Australia and other parts of the world. So we have a pretty good global audience here. When we talk about extraordinary life, what's really important to preface this discussion is extraordinary is different for everyone. And I want to make sure I speak to that first, because it's not just some generic term, meaning that my version of extraordinary, your version of extraordinary, and somebody else's version of extraordinary might be different, and as they should be, right? As they should be. Not everybody's going to have the same goals, the same ambition, the same drive. And that's fine, and again, that's how it should be. And I preface that because sometimes when we use language like extraordinary or spectacular or amazing, they're wonderful words, and they're really emotive invoking, meaning they bring up some sense of emotion, but you want to make sure you're defining it on your terms, right? So make sure whatever extraordinary is for you, and when I'm saying these tips, I try to choose a few. There's a lot of ways I could do this. I try to choose a few that would really be universal no matter what. Meaning, if you're a person who wants to have $10 million in the bank, you're a person who wants to retire and live in a cabin in the middle of the woods. If you're a person who wants to not travel at all and just live within a couple blocks of friends and family, if you're a person who wants to see the world, whatever, again, you define extraordinary as for you, these tips can be applied. And remember, when we're talking about extraordinary, that you define it for yourself. You don't want to be comparing yours to somebody else's, because then it's comparing apples to oranges. And remember, anytime you're doing that, anytime you're comparing your life, your version of extraordinary to another person, you're only comparing what you see on the surface, right? You're only comparing what you see on the outside as opposed to really knowing on what's going on in here. Thank you everybody who's sharing, by the way. I see quite a few of the share button popping up, so thank you for sharing this and inviting your friends and family to join. The problem is that what we see is not always what's real, right? And so sometimes we put so much stock in this idea of extraordinary, somebody else is extraordinary, that we're not really doing things for ourselves. We're not really doing the things that enrich us and nurture us. We're not even asking the questions to figure out what it is that really makes us tick, that fills us up, that gives us a sense of passion and excitement in life. Right? A lot of times we leave those at bay, and instead we settle for things like, well, my life would be good if it was like that person's. Well, if I got to look like that person, if I got to travel like that person, if I got to, live where they live, whatever it is, blah 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 blah. We've all heard it. Then my life would be great. Greatness is inside of you, and it's always there, right? It's just up to you to get the right keys to unlock the parts of that greatness or all of it that you want to. And so when we look at something like extraordinary, I want to just make sure that you're clear that this is about you. Your extraordinary life is about you and not about anybody else, okay? So first tip number one for creating extraordinary life is you got to find, and if you can't find it, you got to create the humor. Now that seems so simple, right? Jesse, come on. I didn't stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get up early. I didn't rush home from work to hear you tell me about how important it is to laugh, right? Laughter cures all. Laughter is the best medicine. I've heard that before. Tell me something new. I appreciate that you may have heard. I appreciate that you may have heard it before. But what I want to really speak to with this is the idea of creating humor. There is going to be some shitty times in life for us, and we are going to face some challenging times that will test us, that will literally feel like it'll rip the very fabric of our souls apart if we have to keep going any further, if we keep getting pushed any harder. And one of the ways I think that helps dissipate some of those emotions is finding the humor. Now, a lot of times what we'll do is we settle, right? Things are how they are, and we accept things being how they are, and so we decide, well, life, and we use language like, well, life sucks right now. Life just is shitty. Life is challenging. Life's tough. Life is miserable. Life's awful. So on and so forth, right? We talk ourselves into these fantasies that everything is doom, gloom, and it's about to go kaboom. This is where I get off on tangents because I start thinking about my rapping career. Doom, gloom, and it's going to go kaboom. Maybe somebody should write that down and we'll quote it later on. I could use that as one of those little pictures I send out, right? Your life's not always going to be doom. Okay, anyways. We will talk ourselves into that and we start to paint the story of it, right? Part of the reason things are so bad, when they're so bad, is because we linguistically, we language them that way. We describe them that way. You might go through your day. You might have not a great day, not a good day, but an average day. But there's one thing that happens that's a little bit below average. Traffic's tough that day. You're a little late for work. You had a miscommunication with your boss. Maybe you and your partner didn't see eye to eye. Whatever that is. Your friend forgot your birthday. And then all of a sudden, when someone asks you how to summarize your day, your summary is, well, the day was awful. The day sucked, right? It was a bad day. We take that one thing and we start to talk ourselves into it. And then what we do is we build on it, right? We build on it. We add in more language. Talk about why it was so bad. The traffic jam turns into a fish story. The traffic jam went from this to this big. And oh man, these people were just, and everybody was an asshole and all this stuff and blah, 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 right? And pretty soon we've talked ourselves into such a tizzy. We've talked ourselves into so much frustration, so much stress, so overwhelmed, that we really have convinced ourselves that everything's bad. Now, if we train ourselves to find the humor in that, what we'll find is it'll dissipate that. It'll break it up. It's like, imagine if you have a bunch of ice. If you had a bunch of ice in a tub or a bucket, and then you were to go and pour some warm water on it, right? Pretty soon the ice starts to break apart. And then eventually with time, the ice starts to warm. And with more time, the ice melts altogether. Right? Humor is like pouring warm water on the ice. Sometimes it's really cold. Sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes there is challenges where you feel like you are so frozen out of existing that you don't know what to do, that you're literally going to crumble. As I said, it feels like your soul, the fabric of your soul is getting stripped from you. Humor is the warm water you can pour onto it. And you may not see the change right away, but if you keep pouring the water, if you keep applying it, if you keep finding the humor, if you keep creating the humor, eventually the ice starts to break apart. Now, what do I mean by creating the humor? Finding the humor is easy, right? We go on YouTube, we go on something like that. We can look up Jimmy Fallon clips. We can look up whatever is funny. Cat videos. What was that one going around a while? The cat with the cucumber. All sorts of things like that. Funny little kid videos. There's a plethora of them out there. But what happens when we're not thinking that way? What happens when we don't want to go online? What happens when we don't have our electronic resources right at our disposal? That's when we have to start creating the humor. And creating the humor starts with looking for simple, everyday things and approaching them with a laugh or a smile. Approach them with a laugh or a smile. For example, when you see that person walking down the street, that same person that you know who that person is because it's the same person that you normally criticize, finger point at, have some sort of rude comment under your breath. When you see them walking down the street, instead of saying something negative, find a positive. Make a comment about their outfit. Boy, they sure do look like they're happy today. They sure do look like, boy, they got some mean dance moves. Right? Doing that, it allows you to shift again your language away from focusing on the wrongs to start creating some rights. You can, some of you may know if you followed me on social media for a while, I enjoy professional wrestling. One of the things I enjoy most about professional wrestling is not the compelling storylines, not the dramatic acting or anything like that. It's the humor that my friends find in it that I watch it. And inevitably what happens is my friends like to give me shit about it. They like to give me shit about watching wrestling and tease me about it. But it creates humor. Me watching wrestling, me talking about it a little over dramatic as I might, creates humor within a dynamic that wouldn't be there. And so suddenly this kind of mute point, oh, what are you doing? I'm watching wrestling, turns into this ongoing joke that I can share with friends. You're watching wrestling, and then I hear all of it, right? It's fake, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. But it's laughter. It's laughter, and pretty soon, really not so exciting conversations can turn into really exciting conversations if you choose to create the humor. Okay, so that's number one. Number one tip for living an extraordinary life is find the humor, create the humor. Number two tip for creating an extraordinary life is get a guide. Get a guide or a guidebook. What do I mean by that? Imagine, if you will, you wake up one morning and you decide, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to climb Mount Everest. Now, Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. It is way up in the sky. It is way up in the sky. In fact, those of you who have lived in the United States, our tallest mountain here on the continental U.S., the lower 48, is Mount Whitney. Mount Everest, which is 14,500 feet, do not ask me to convert for meters. Okay, 4,000 something, maybe. If you double that, and then you add a little bit more, that's the size of Mount Everest. Not only is Mount Everest the tallest point in the world, it also has extremely torrential weather. It is weather that is known to change rapidly. It can get down into the minus 100s. The winds can be so extreme it's pushing you around. There is ice everywhere, so you could slip and fall off. There was a report recently that I think 3 or 4 people died on Mount Everest just in the last couple of weeks. It's no joke, right? It's serious. And if you go up it, the air is so thin that you may not be able to breathe. So you might have to use oxygen to even be able to breathe. Why am I talking about Mount Everest? Well, here's the thing. If you were to decide to climb Mount Everest, you just woke up one morning and you decide, you know what, I want to climb Mount Everest. You would not go up there without a guide, would you? Right? You would not go up there with a guide, would you? Because where would you go? How would you do? Yeah, you can look and say, oh, well, there's the top. But how do you know where the top's at if the snow's going everywhere? The snow's going everywhere. You wouldn't try to go and climb the mountain if you'd never climbed an ice before, right? You'd want to have somebody take you up there, guide you up there, that knows the ropes, that knows the course, who's been through the path and walked it time and time and time again, so that you can be certain that they are going to get you to the top of where you want to go. It's kind of like if you were to, anybody here ever had a toothache? Has anybody ever had a toothache? Thumbs up for toothaches, hearts for toothaches. You can type in, yes, I've had a toothache. And I know we can't raise the hands. It's too bad we don't have a hand-raising button here. There needs to be like a hand-raising emoji. But anybody who's ever had a toothache, or if you haven't, I see lots of hearts going up on Periscope. It looks like there's been lots of thumbs up going up on Facebook too. So lots of toothaches. Or if you ever had a toothache before, maybe you had a broken bone, you've had a really severe cold, a bad flu, something like that. If you had a toothache, you wouldn't try to go and operate on it yourself, would you? Right? I mean, let's think about it. You wouldn't go on to Wikipedia and type in, how do I fix a toothache? And then you wouldn't go buy the drill it says to use and you wouldn't start drilling on yourself, would you? Of course not. You would go to a dentist, you would go to somebody who's done it time and time and time again to be able to utilize their expertise, their guidance, so that you can get your tooth fixed as fast as possible. So you can get the results that you're after. The result being you want to have a reduction in pain, right? You want to be able to go back to chewing the things that you wanted to. You want to go back to enjoying the foods you want to enjoy. You want to go back to being able to sleep through the night. Similarly in life, right, one of the biggest and most important journeys we'll ever take. So often we go it alone. We go through these stages in life and we never utilize the service of guides. Right? We would never climb Mount Everest without a guide. We won't operate on our own tooth without a guide. We wouldn't say, oh, my arm hurts, I'm going to amputate it without a guide. But yet, when it comes to our own quality of life, we will go without a guide. And I think that's tragic. I think that's really tragic. There was something in the United States, we had tax season just a month, well, I guess it's June now, so a month and a half ago. And there's this really funny infographic going around that I got a kick out of it. It said something to the effect of, oh gosh, it was saying, oh, I'm so grateful I learned how to do, what was it? Something ridiculous that we all had to learn in school, and in elementary school. I'm so grateful I got taught that and they skipped over how to do taxes. Right? It's so true, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly didn't get taught how to do taxes in school. It wasn't a course that you give. You get all this other stuff. We got to read Scarlet Letter instead. Right? Oh boy, Scarlet Letter. Well, that's really relevant today. We go on TV and everybody's sleeping with everybody. But then you're going to go Scarlet Letter, what's a no-no? and I was thinking about it, how effective it would have been, how much of a stress reduction for the United States it would have been if we'd have been taught taxes, if we had been taught how to do that, if that would have been something that had been prioritized. You see, the point is this, whether it's a guide, a teacher, a mentor, whatever, when you have that person in your life who's done the things before that you're trying to learn, who's accomplished what you've tried to accomplish, if you've have that person there to walk beside you, to help you, to guide you, you can be much more confident, much more assured you're going to eventually reach the top. Whereas you could go to Mount Everest, you could get there, but you may never get to where you want to go. You could try to operate on your tooth, but what happens when you hit a nerve and you damage the nerve and it's permanently damaged? What happens when you go and try to do your taxes and you haven't had the person teaching you how to do it and you cross I's and dot T's instead of dotting I's and crossing T's? Might create some problems, right? So having a guide in helping lead you, helping guide you to where you want to go is the key number 2 to living an extraordinary life. Right? There are countless people in your life or out there that you can utilize, that have been where they have gone through what you want to go through, have accomplished things similar to what you want to, and can help you get there. They've done the hard work already. Utilize them. Don't try to climb Mount Everest on your own. The success rate for that is like this, slim to none. Versus the success rate with people going with guides, it's much, much higher. Much, much higher. Same thing, success rate of people operating on their tooth on their own, I gotta imagine it's like that. Versus the success rate of going to somebody who's done it time and time again, you're multiplying infinite and beyond. Okay? Extraordinary tip number 3. Tip number 3 for living an extraordinary life. Make gratitude your focus. Make gratitude your focus. Now, if you followed me on the 1 Year 1000 Challenge page for a while, you know that every Tuesday there's a post that says gratitude time. And it's asking you to name off one thing or person that you're grateful for in that moment. Some of you are really good about it. I see you week after week after week posting on there, utilizing it, and making it a habit to put gratitude on there. Sometimes I see your individual posts pop up in my newsfeed talking about gratitude. Awesome. And then I see a lot of you who don't. I see more people not responding to the gratitude posts than other posts. I see more people using the news feed to talk about the things that are wrong in life and what they don't have and focus on the lack. You see, when you start to connect with gratitude, you really, really connect with gratitude, you acknowledge it and realize how much you have to be grateful for, which is a lot, by the way. You will be amazed on how much of the rest of the crap melts away. Because the reason why is gratitude is something that comes from the heart. Right? Gratitude is a very heart-centered emotion. It allows us to tap into the things that are the most important to us. Right? How grateful are you in this moment for breathing? How grateful are you in this moment that your heart's pumping blood? How grateful are you in this moment that you have fingers that move, that do all these things? And yeah, I get that might be a little extreme, but hey, you know what? Those are the most basic stuff. And if they've stopped working, boy, I bet you would be scared out of your mind. And all of a sudden, all those other things that you give your time, your energy, your attention to, stress, overwhelm, why this person's not doing this, why this isn't that, the bills you have to pay, how unhappy you are at work, etc., etc., etc. I'm willing to bet that would cease because you're going to be connecting to something that means a lot more. And if you were to lose those things, lose your ability to breathe, lose your ability to pump blood through your body, you would find that in the moment that would be the only thing that would matter to you. Likely to the point that you would give virtually anything to have that function back. When we connect with gratitude and we allow that to be our focus, our driving force, it allows us each and every day to connect with all the wonderful things that are happening in our life. Because again, if we break it down and we look at the stuff that's wrong, the challenges we face, the horrible stuff that's out there, the shitty days that we have, it's not a bunch of them. There's a few. There's a few key things that are happening that are creating that. But even in that, there's still so much to be grateful for. Even in that, there's still so much to be grateful for. If you have air in your lungs, if you have blood pumping through your body, you have a lot to be grateful for. I see a lot of hearts and thumbs up going by right now, so I think this is connecting with all of you. And I appreciate all the hearts and thumbs up and on both Periscope and Facebook Live. And I'm taking that to mean that this is really resonating with you, which is good. Because if you start to connect with that more often, remember, we only have so much space in here to think about so many things, right? Have any of you ever, and if this is you, you can type in me, give a thumbs up, whatever it is, but have you ever in your life, maybe you've done this or known somebody who's done this, been thinking about something and tell yourself, oh, I need to remember that, and then 2 seconds later it's gone. And then you're trying to remember it, and you're saying, oh, shoot, what was that I need to remember? What do I need to remember? What do I need to remember? Oh, I forgot. I see some yeses going through there and thumbs ups and stuff. So, okay, that's some of you. Think about that. We're holding these thoughts for such fleeting moments, right? It enters into our mind, and then it's gone. Poof. And so if we can move, if thoughts are moving through our brain that quickly, and if we can lose a thought that fast, and it's the reason we lose it, right, is because we can only hold conscious attention on maybe a couple things at once. So when that one thought comes through and is gone, we got to replace it with something else. Well, how are we going to get that thought back if we're focusing on losing it? Which is a hint for those of you when you find yourself forgetting that next time. If we start to replace some of those thoughts with gratitude, if we start to fill that space up with gratitude, if we start to fill that space up with the things that we're grateful for, that we acknowledge that we have, the wonderful, wonderful things in our life, you will find that a lot of the space then, the available space that you do have, is going to be filled up now much more often with the things that matter most to you. You see, the reason that space is going to get filled regardless. Any of you have ever been walking around and suddenly have a negative thought pop in your head, or a sad thought, or a depressing thought, or whatever it is? You know how easily that space is filled. Doesn't it make sense to, if that space can be filled so easily, doesn't it make sense to be deliberate about what goes into that space so that you can decide what goes in there, as opposed to just letting the world dump it in? Any of you who have ever watched the news know that the news does everything in their power to try to fill up in here what they want you to think. Be deliberate about what goes into your mind. And I see lots of hearts, I see lots of thumbs up coming through with this, so I'm glad that this is connecting with you all. If gratitude becomes your focus, I promise you this, you will find that your days are going to be filled with so much more joy and so much more happiness that you'll be living an extraordinary life. Okay, so just a quick summary. 3 tips, 3 keys to living an extraordinary life. Number 1, find the humor, create the humor. Right? Find the humor, create the humor. Finding the humor is going looking for resources, all these types of things. The internet's great because it makes it so easy to deliver that to us. Creating it is giving yourself opportunities to laugh, to smile. You know, being able to find a joke in something, to be able to take things lightly, not so seriously. You know, smirk, smile, whatever it is, have fun with stuff. Make fun of yourself. You guys will all see, if any of you follow me on social media, you'll see me from time to time. I post some pretty random stuff on there. I think it was this weekend I posted some research thing about farting. Every once in a while I got one email from somebody saying, Jesse, I didn't think that was very professional about it, blah, 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 I was offended. Whatever, right? We all do it, and let's have some friggin' fun with it, right? Because you can find the humor in that. Right? Find the humor in something. It's a basic bodily function that we're all doing. Instead of just being hush-hush about it and being stressed out of our minds about anybody knowing if we toot, make it obvious and have fun with it. Oh, the constipated faces are going on Facebook right now. I can remember, whenever you're in a new relationship, right? One of the most awkward times in that new relationship is when you have to go number 2 around and the other person's around. Right? Anybody ever been there before? You start dating somebody, and it's the first number 2. Right? It's the first number 2. And so what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What kind of excuse are you going to make? Do you have to go to all of a sudden, oh shit, I forgot I got to Starbucks right now. That was kind of ironic. I said, oh shit, for that too. You make some excuse. Oh, I got to go in the other room. Oh, I think I locked the cat out. Whatever it is. All right. We make up all these stories around it to try to avoid this obvious thing, and it becomes a stressful experience. It doesn't have to be. Just make it fun. Make it light. Right? Find the humor in things, and that may be a far-off extreme, and some of you may not want to go there. Oh, Facebook is blowing it up right now with the constipated faces. Periscope is making a comeback with the hearts. But you get what I'm saying with it, right? We limit ourselves if we take things like that off the table. We really rob ourselves from humor if we're going to make things so friggin' serious. So number 1 is find the humor, create the humor. Number 2, get a guide. You would not climb Mount Everest without a guide. You would not do dental surgery on yourself without a guide. Right? Get a guide, get a mentor, get somebody who can help lead you to where you want to go. Somebody who's been there before, somebody who's gone through the process of it all. Your life is too valuable to leave to chance. I will tell you guys, I'm so grateful for the work I do. I love being able to work with clients. I love the people I am able to work with, and I know some of you are current clients, have taken programs of mine. I will tell you the hardest part of my day, every day, is whenever I meet with somebody who's thinking about doing a program, thinking about working with me, and they decide no, And oftentimes they're doing it because they're so into their stuff that they decide they're going to go it alone. Right? They're going to charge forward. They're just going to do it. They're going to figure it out somehow. And what makes that so hard for me is because I see that person leave, and I know how much of their good quality of life they're robbing themselves of. There's so much joy, so much laughter, so much happiness that they could be experiencing. But they take it away because instead, remember, we all have this little bit of space that we're filling. They're filling it up with the stress, with anxiety, with negative thoughts, with these self-doubts, with these limiting beliefs, with some sort of emotionally traumatic thing that happened 5 years, 10 years ago. They're filling it up with problems in their relationships, with struggles in communication. All of these things are fixable, but they don't want to fix it because they're going to try to, again, climb Mount Everest by themselves. And so instead, and I see all the thumbs up and hearts going right now, so I take it this is really connecting with you, which I appreciate that. They take it to mean that their head is stronger than the wall, right? Their head's stronger than the wall. Well, if it's balsa wood, fantastic, right? We can break through that. But what happens when you hit the brick wall? I don't care how hard your skull is. Even if you get those bricks down, what do you get? A concussion afterwards? A lump the size of your chin? You rob yourselves of your own greatness. Right? You rob yourselves of your own greatness. Life is not meant to be that way. Right? Get a guide, get a mentor, get somebody to help you get to where you want to be. You do not need to be a statistic. You do not need to be a tragedy. You do not need to be sad, depressed, downtrodden, and upset and miserable, stressed out, overwhelmed, frustrated. You don't need to be any of those things. You are those things because, again, that little space that's going on here, those thoughts that are going through there, you condition yourself to have those fleeting thoughts that are going in and out be those kinds of thoughts. And you're not changing it because you're too busy banging your head against the wall trying to force it down yourself. Everest is way the hell up here, and you're not making it through the ice fields, the storms, the wind, the rapid condition changes, being able to cook the food, carry all your gear up, all those types of things, the oxygen, without a guide. Your tooth is effed up, you got to go to the dentist, you got to go to an expert. I promise you this. Key tip number 2, utilizing a guide. You will be blown away once you start utilizing the expertise of a guide, a mentor. You will be blown away by how much simpler your path becomes and how much clearer it becomes. And you'll be blown away at your own inaction in the past, thinking, why did I spend so much time? Make gratitude your daily focus. Make gratitude your focus. Again, you all have so much to be grateful for. You all have so much to be grateful for. And if you start to do the things each and every day to acknowledge that gratitude, if you try to do the things every day to recognize what you have to be grateful for, all those types of things, the blood pumping through your heart, the air in your lungs, you will find, again, those fleeting thoughts that are coming in and out that might be there one moment, gone the next. You're going to start replacing them with thoughts that are much more congruent with who you want to be and thoughts that lift you up instead of holding you down. You do these 3 things, everyone. You do these 3 things and you make it a habit to utilize them and do them each and every day. And I promise you this. Your extraordinary life, instead of it being this distant dream or this seemingly unachievable goal, your extraordinary life is something that not only will it be a goal that you can achieve, it'll be a goal that you are living and realizing very, very soon. Because again, if you step back and you define, if we go back to what we talked about at the very beginning, and defining what an extraordinary life is for you, I'm willing to bet if you broke it down to the most basic terms, the most basic places, there's some key elements of it that will be cultivated and created by using these 3 things. Most people never live an extraordinary life because they don't take care of this in here. People might have a ton of money, they might have a ton of cars, all sorts of planes, trains, and automobiles, They may be able to go to the nicest hotels, all those types of things, and that can be a lot of fun. But they want to define their life as extraordinary because they don't have what's going on in here and here. You take care of this, you get this right, you do the things to nurture that. And whether you want to travel the world or you want to stay at home and just travel around your neighborhood, you will truly be living an extraordinary life. All right. Any questions? What questions do you have? Thank you, everyone, thank you for all the hearts, for all the thumbs up, everything else. What questions do you have? We'll do about 10 minutes, 15 minutes for Q&A, and then I will have a little treat for those of you who are still along at the end. So what questions do you have? Let's see if we can figure out how to answer questions. Okay, now we're going to see if we can do this in real time or not. I got to see what screen is working. Questions. Any questions? Makes sense? We've got exactly. Was this helpful? Was this helpful for you all? Yes, cool. Helpful? Yes, awesome. Quite a few are saying yes. See thumbs up, see hearts. I see all sorts of things flying around. Emojis, I don't recognize it. All the hearts are from my 5-year-old Jordan. He wanted to listen with me. Any advice for a kid? What a great idea for parents. That's delegation right there, right? You focus on listening. You assign to your 5-year-old the heart tapping. That's a good one. I should start opening this up for kids and encouraging parents to bring their kids on. I'm sorry, I forgot the last part of your question. I got too excited about the thing. If you could put it back on. How do you find your true self? That is going to be a little bit more involved than what we'd have time for in just this. What I would say is 2 things. 1, shoot me an email and we can discuss it off camera. And 2, what I would say is look in here, look within your heart, and ask yourself what's really most important to you. Start answering those questions. What's really most important to you? And then whatever answer you come up with, ask yourself, is that really what's most important? Sometimes you'll get a no. And a lot of times what we're conditioned to respond with is we see these things on the surface that we think are most important, but when we really, really get what's really, really most important, we find that it's something else. Advice for a 5-year-old. What kind of advice do you need for a 5-year-old? What kind of advice specifically is a 5-year-old wanting advice for? I work in, I wonder if I can look at this one up here. Okay, cool. I work in veterinarian medicine and suffer from severe compassion fatigue. Best way to regain myself. Again, that's going to be a tough one to answer just now because I don't know what specific factors are going into that. Why don't you shoot me an email with that and we can talk about that one offline too, okay? Because that's a good one. I just want to make sure I'm directing you the right way with that. Going big and not going home, is it a good way? Yeah, I think it definitely is. If you're going to do for something and you want to do it, you might as well go big with it. How do you forgive someone who keeps hurting and disrespecting you over and over? Start with forgiving yourself. Start with forgiving yourself. Typically, if you're allowing that behavior to happen time and time again, there's something within you that you haven't forgiven, you haven't let go. Forgive yourself first, and you'll find some space to start doing that and being able to let go of the toxicity of the relationship. I'm just jumping back and forth between Periscope and Facebook Live, so if I miss your question, please type it again. It's me not trying to ignore it or anything like that. There's a lot of stimulation going on here. There's lots of stuff going on, and I'm trying to make sure I keep up with them all. What other questions do you have? Good questions. I'm really liking these. When you're starting to be more thankful, do you encourage doing that all good or bad? When you are starting to be more thankful, do you encourage doing that all good? I'm not sure what you mean by doing that all good or all bad. Can you rephrase that a little bit, please? I'm happy to answer it. I think I know what you mean, but I just want to make sure if you could rephrase that. Oh, are you asking, are you thankful even regardless if it's bad or good? Is that what you're asking? Okay, cool. The answer is yes. And the reason why is, right, inside of trash, there's always treasure. And it's there if you dig for it, you're willing to dig for it, you're willing to look for it. There is good in every situation. It may not seem like it, but again, you have to be willing to dig. If you dig enough through it, you dig, you're going to be able to find the good. There is light behind every cloud. See, most of the time we never see that because we're so focused on the clouds, we're so fixated on the weather that we see in the moment that we forget to see beyond the clouds. We forget that beyond the clouds there's sunshine. Beyond the dark there's light. We get so locked up in the light that we never see, we get so locked up in the dark, rather, that we forget the light will follow. And it always does. Darkness always gives way to light. And so one of the challenges is when you're going through a dark time, when you're in that situation where you have cloudy skies in your life, is find your light. One of the greatest tools, one of the greatest gifts you will ever give to yourself is, again, making that gratitude a daily focus and finding that things you're grateful for. Oh, I see all the hearts, especially on Facebook Live. You guys really like this one. That's good. I like this. This one's really connecting with you all. One of the greatest gifts you will ever give to yourself is being able to find your light in your stormy skies. I can appreciate that it might be hard at times. And trust me, I've been through times in my life where I definitely did not want to find it. But when you do find it and you acknowledge it, that ultimately can become your salvation. And when I say salvation, what I mean by that is it's the thing that will keep you from getting pulled in so deep that you're now consumed by it. Right? So you want to absolutely, that's a great question. Even when things are bad, I promise you there's going to be some things that you can be grateful for, thankful for, and find those and focus on those. How do I gain trust of someone? Oops, the trust one just disappeared. If you want to put that one up again. What is the first thing that you say to yourself in the morning to hype yourself up for having a great day? I will usually say something, I won't say something to myself, but I will usually have my first focal point. My first focal point is going to be something like the people I'm going to meet with that day. I always tell myself in the morning, it's time to change the world. It's time to make a difference. It's time to, something like that, right? Something that is going to engage me and remind me of sense of purpose. If I get up and tell myself and say, oh, I don't really want to get up, guess what happens? Don't really want to get up. But if I'm in connecting to purpose and doing something that is reminding me why I get up, that makes a big difference. Makes a huge difference. What other questions you have? Periscope, I'm sorry, I see them popping up and I missed the last one. If you want to put that one up again. I'll focus just on Periscope right now. So anybody in Periscope asking questions, type it in and put it up there. And we get time, what time is it? Oh, okay. We have time for about 2 or 3 more questions. 2 or 3 more questions. Periscope, I see lots of hearts, no questions. We good? Okay, I'm going to pop over to Facebook Live. What are you grateful for today? What am I grateful for today? Definitely all of you being here. I love doing these things, and it's a lot of fun for me to connect and be able to do this. I mean, we have people from 3 different continents. I don't know, at least 10 different countries posted things on there. I'm super grateful that so many of you took your time to be here with me and spend the time, because I know you all have busy lives, and so many of you have been here for the majority of the time. And I'm super grateful for that. I am grateful that I ate some delicious asparagus earlier. Grateful for my eggs I ate earlier. They were quite yummy. There's a lot of things. I'm grateful for I have a fan on because it's a little warm, and I usually get so fired up doing these things I start to perspire. So the fan helps keep me from looking like I'm just a sweaty mess when I'm talking to all of you. Is never giving up the right way. It depends. It depends. If something speaks to your heart and if what you're doing, you're congruent with it, meaning that it's in alignment with your higher values, your higher sense of purpose, then I think you should always keep going forward. If, on the other hand, that you are doing something and it doesn't feel like it's in alignment with your higher values, your higher purpose, then I would definitely suggest revisiting it also. It depends. I see a couple people typing I missed questions, and again, If I'm missing your question, I really apologize. There's a lot of content coming through here on my end. I can only see maybe 3 things at a time on Facebook. I can see 1 or 2 at a time on Periscope. So you can keep typing them in, and I'll do my best to answer them. But that is all the time we have for today. So if you did have a question, I didn't get to it, I apologize. And I will make sure you actually ask it next time, and I'll get to it. For those of you who are still here, if there's something that I've said today that really connected with you, resonated with you, you'd like a little bit more help on, shoot me an email and let me know what it is specifically, and you and I can set up a time to talk about it, brainstorm on it, strategize about it, and figure out what exactly it is that needs to change, and I can give you some individualized attention, tools, strategies for helping you get through that and get past that. So shoot me an email. You can either email me here on Facebook. I'll stay on Facebook for the next little bit. Or you can email me through my website, or you can email me jessebrizendine@hotmail.com. Okay? Then we can sit down, we can brainstorm on it, figure out how we need to do to fix this. Again, this is only for those of you who, if I said something today that really resonated with you, really connected with you. Okay? Thank you so much, everybody, for being here, for all the hearts, for all the thumbs up, for all the constipated faces. For some of you have to have tired fingers because you were really dedicated button pushers. I appreciate so much your questions, your interaction, your laughs, your LOLs, your all the different emojis. And again, I sincerely apologize if I didn't get to your question. I hope those of you whose questions I did answer, you found some value in it. And I also hope you all found value in the 3 tips I shared. I promise you, if you start applying them, you start doing them, you're going to be able to start living that extraordinary life that you were born to live. Again, remember, it's not planes, trains, and automobiles. It's about doing these little things each and every day. That's really going to be the stuff that brings enrichment, nourishment, and ultimately fulfillment in life. I'm grateful. I was asked, what am I grateful for today? Very grateful for all of you. I wouldn't be where I am today without each and every one of you. So thank you so much. Sending lots of love your way, and I appreciate you all being here. Have an amazing rest of your day, amazing night, amazing morning, amazing afternoon, amazing sleep, wherever you are, whatever's going on in your life, and I look forward to speaking with you all again very soon. All right? I'm going to attempt to log off of these devices and do it in a way that doesn't seem too much like I don't know what I'm doing, and you don't get too much of a nose hair view. So if you get the nose hairs, I apologize. That's just me trying to log off. All right? Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.